episode number 25 of How to Become a Sales Warrior. I am your host, Eddie Pods, and this is my co-host, Mark Simpson. Say hello.
Happy to be here.
Glad you're here. Milestone. We're coming up on almost a year of doing the podcast. To be able to get 25 episodes in it's a marker.
Congratulations, yep.
You know, I was in the city a few weeks ago, and I met another group of people who had a podcast, and I said, you know, how many episodes you got? And they're like, 197. I'm like, whoa. Okay. You know, and it's you know, you got to keep working at it. You know, it just doesn't happen overnight, but it does. You know, it takes a lot of time.
Well, now we're stepping on the gas pedal a little bit.
Today's episode, we have a guest, Bill Gonyea. He is a friend of yours.
Not just a friend, my daughter's godfather, one of my closest friends. I'm very excited to have him here today, and I appreciate you giving us the opportunity to bring Bill on. I think it's a very interesting story that you're going to hear from Bill today.
Well, after having to get 24 guests, not having to get this guest was pretty nice.
And somebody who knows about sales.
Well, there you go. There you go. So we're here to help a younger generation maybe cut some time off on how long it takes to actually be successful. For me, it took 20 years to climb the mountain and get to the top. And for me, getting to the top is being financially secure, having a great job, and really loving what you do. And the 20 years to get there was brutal. So the book takes you through my trials and tribulations, and if you can take some nuggets out of the book and out of the podcast to cut down the amount of time it takes you to be successful, that's my goal.
And time is precious.
Yeah, so, you know, I'm always looking to help younger people. I had the privilege of being at an event last week, and we'll get into that in a minute, but we really need to go into the best sports moment of the week, and you said you didn't have one.
Yeah, I can tell you everything that's a disaster about New York sports. We got Saquon, who's going to win the MVP of the Super Bowl. We got the Mets can't sign Alonso. We got the Jets hire their new coach, press conference today, who will be fired in 3 years. And the Rangers lost yesterday. So it's been a tough sports weekend for diehard New York sports fans.
So I told Mark earlier that when Patrick Mahomes got drafted by Kansas City, I became a fan because he used to shag flies at Shea Stadium. And I can say it was Shea Stadium when he was a kid, and his dad, you know, was out there playing ball for the Mets, and I started rooting for him. You know, everybody has said I'm a Johnny-come-lately, but I literally started, with the day he was drafted was the day I started rooting for him. So, you know, when my New York Giants suck, I have someone else to root for.
You can really say the Giants probably sold themselves to the devil with the 2 Super Bowls that they had, but we're paying the price now.
You know, I go back to when they had the opportunity with Daniel Jones or Saquon. Who do we give the franchise tag and who do we give the big contract? They did it the way I would not have, and it's come back to bite them so hard in the ass, it's not even funny.
It's going to keep biting.
It's going to keep biting. I mean, how do you... Daniel Jones, I mean, he's not even on the team.
And remember the coach, there was the coach who wanted to draft Mahomes.
Yeah.
And they fired him.
Yeah, they got rid of him. So we're going to dive into the book today, chapters 9 and 11. I normally do just one chapter, but 9 and 11 are really one of its networking and one of its trade shows. So Friday, I was at a networking event, trade show / really awesome day. It was a leadership. It was our guest from last week, Joe, 150 people in the audience. And because I was willing to let him come on here, promote his event, come to my networking group, promote his event, he gave me a table. He gave me a vending table, no charge. Put up your book. I actually sold 9 books, which is kind of exciting. You know, I hadn't done that in public before. I've only done it online. So I made the lion's share of the profits there, not Amazon.
Why not?
But, you know, when you're at these events, this is where you get into the tips in the book of what am I doing right? What am I doing wrong? And my proudest moment of the day was when I was up in front of 150 some odd people, and Joe introduces me. And he has my book. We're going to give my book away. And he says, this man practices what he preaches. And in the book, when you go into an event, it says show up early. I was at the door waiting for him at his event. I literally was sitting there with my truck at the door waiting for him. What can I do to help?
Yep.
You know, help other people. Another gentleman who was setting up had a lot of stuff in his vehicle. And I said, what can I carry in for you? He goes, really? I'm like, dude, give me what you got. Gives me a whole bunch of stuff. I bring it in. He says, oh, man, you're great. Well, I go to set up my booth, and it's the first time that I've actually used my pull-up sign. I'm missing the rod to hold the sign up.
Okay.
I'm like, oh, fuck, it's sitting at home in the pod. I forgot it.
Right.
I call my daughter. I said, where are you? She's at the gym with Mom. I said, hey, you know, I'm going to need you to run home, go in the pod. You're going to have to get this stick, and you got to run to Hot Dog. She's like, you got it, Dad, no problem. The guy that I helped heard me. I said, what do you need? I said, I need a stick for the sign. He goes, I got one. Let me go to my car and get it for you. The karma, the good deed, the helping of others, that just saved me so much aggravation. It saved my daughter having to, you know, mess up her day just to help Dad. And, you know, I was really grateful that she was willing to.
Yep.
You know, that's always a pleasure when your kid steps up and doesn't give you bullshit. The other thing is, you know, when you're at a trade show, how can you be memorable? So yeah, I had the signs. We gave away a book. I was able to speak to the entire audience about my book, why they should buy it. We gave one away. I actually signed 4 copies. That was pretty cool. I had never done that
Take
before.
photos, the whole thing.
Yeah,
sure.
actually, yeah, there were selfies,
why not? Yeah.
but be memorable. And when I sat down, there was later on in the program, we switched tables. And I went to this table and I sat down, and this woman came over. She sat down next to me. She goes, I want you to know that after I heard you speak, I wanted to come talk to you. And that's why I'm sitting here next to you. That meant a lot to me. You know, that I brought some kind of presence, that somebody wanted to get to know me for whatever reason.
Right.
You know, and that's the part about being on a trade show. Be early, be prepared, be memorable. That goes a long way.
You know, it's relevant for today as well, because our guest actually showed up an hour early and called from the parking lot before I even left the house.
Oh, shit. I wish you would have said to me, I was here early. The action statement in chapters 9 is to be a go-giver. Now, there's a book called The Go-Giver, and I recommend anybody in sales to read it. It's 110 pages. It's an easy read. When I started being a go-giver is when I started to be more successful. And a go-giver is someone who gives to other people without expecting anything in return. Helping others when they haven't asked for it, you just wanted to help somebody else. And that's been my mantra for about 4 years now, and I've had record-breaking sales since I started to be that go-giver, since I started to help other people. And then in chapter 11, for the trade show, be early, which my buddy loved that I was there to support him. You know, he was like, oh, God, thank you. You know, setting up the tables and doing whatever. Eat lightly. It's a tip. Don't be that guy piling on the food. You got food in your mouth, and you're trying to
make sure your teeth are clear.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. You know, and you know, I laugh because there are a few guys that were chomping down. They got shit in their beard. And I'm like, dude, man, pay attention to what you.
Yeah, it's not about the food.
It's not exactly. It's not about the food. You can eat later. But spend a little time listening. You know, that's the other thing. When we got into these group roundtables, we all got to say something, and we had to vote on who had the best response.
I think what you just said is probably one of the most important things you could tell a younger generation. Listen more, speak less.
Listen more, speak less, absolutely. But it was really a fun day. It was a full 8 hours. I gave it my best effort. I helped the film crew do an interview of me at 7 a.m. They had the microphone ready. They're like, you ready? I'm ready. You know, I can't wait to show you the clip because, you know, you got to be ready. You got to be ready in business, you know, whether it's for the podcast or for pods. You got to be ready. You got to be ready to make a deal or make an impression on someone so you can get that follow-up phone call.
Understood. In our world, there's no off time.
No, there isn't. So we usually go into networking tips and trade shows. I'll let you read that one.
Smile. Look like you were enjoying yourself.
Exactly. You know, you see. I started.
I said this, and I say this over and over, but you're the type that can. And one of the greatest things is you can be dumped anywhere, with any type of person, any type of event, any type of company. And you enjoy that, and you do smile, and it is a great tip when you tell people that, hey, God, it's not so bad, especially meeting people. Get outside your comfort zone.
Get outside your comfort zone. Looks like you're enjoying yourself. And then the trade show was obviously be on time. Someone worked hard to put this event on. Don't show up late.
Well, what was it? The Tom Coughlin rule. If you're 10 minutes, if you're 10 minutes early, you're actually late.
You're actually late.
Right? And that's not wrong.
You know, I try to. My wife went into my daughter's work. She placed an order for lunch, and she went in there, and the boss came over and said, "Oh, is this your mom?" And she goes, "Yeah." And Lexi walked away to get the food, and she just pulled my wife aside and said, "She's an amazing worker. Doesn't give me flack. Does whatever we ask her to do. Always shows up on time."
The simple things.
The simple things, but it's what you brought up with.
Yep.
It's how you're brought up. It's how your parents act. It's how dad acts. It's how you be.
Work ethic.
Work ethic.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm proud that, you know, I walked into the deli today to get my egg sandwich, and my daughter who's in college, you know, she's not there right now. How's Emily? How's she doing? She's going to come back and work in the spring? Like, they love her. Why? She's a great work ethic. You know, and I know the work ethic stems from me and my wife, but it's just what you do to bring your kids into this world, to not be sheltered, not be ass-kissed.
Oh, and you don't. That's a challenge as a parent in today's world. You don't really. You want to give your kids everything, but the reality is you got to teach them, because work ethic. If you have work ethic, that puts you ahead of 95% of your competitors.
All right, we are going into tequila time. We'll bring out our guests. We're going to take a quick break, and we will be back in 5. Welcome back, everybody, to episode 25 of How to Become a Sales Warrior. I'm your host, Eddie Pods. We got Mark Simpson here, and we have our guest, Bill Gonyea.
How you doing, everybody?
We're going to do a toast for tequila time.
I'm watching.
Cheers. He's watching. So
That's not water.
it's not water. No.
No.
So at this point in the program, we like to do something old and something new. And believe it or not, the old isn't something very old. Links. Click my link. Click the link, click the link, click the link. That's, I don't know, maybe 5 years, 6 years. It's been, you know, a word that you hear. Go to my link, go to my link. Now it's, here's my QR code.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, they haven't figured out how to give out viruses with the QR code like you can with the link. Yeah.
The other day when I was getting ready for Joe's event, I printed up this picture that announced that we're now on Spotify. We are now on Spotify. Anyway, my daughter, being creative as she was sitting in the parking lot waiting for these pictures to be printed. She built me a QR code and had it printed up. And literally, you take a picture of it, and it takes you right to my freaking Spotify channel.
It's awesome.
I was blown away. I'm like, thank you for being creative. Thank you for thinking of me. But, like, you know, I never thought I'd be involved in QR code worlds. But what about you? You use QR codes?
We do use QR codes. Actually, one of our businesses a while ago was an early adopter of QR codes, and they thought it was a safer technology. And now it's kind of a standard protocol.
Is it still safe?
Who knows? Who knows? What's safe? Yeah.
You know, I laughed when I was away. The TikTok ban was going into effect. And I said to my sister, it won't last. Oh, yeah, no, it's gone. I'm like, it'll be back. But all I kept laughing about was, we don't want China to have our information. But the government if the government overtakes it, they'll have our information. Does it really matter at this point?
At this point, it doesn't.
If they want your information, they're going to get it. Right?
Right.
All right. Best business decision of the week. You go first. What was your best business decision of the week?
Of the week?
The month.
Career.
Best business decision of the week, probably career was really just getting into the auto industry. You know, when I got into the auto industry, I really didn't have a path, and somebody I was playing hockey with at the time told me it was the kind of money they were making, and I jumped in, took a shot, and it's really panned out for me in the long run.
What was that movie with Matt Dillon when he was in Brooklyn? And he went to be a car salesman, and the car salesman said to him, you sell 2 of these Porsches or Ferraris, you'll be set for the year. And he went back home and told his dad he was quitting school to be a car salesman. And he repeated the exact line to his father, like, where'd you get that crap from, you know?
Yeah.
But the reality of it is, I know many people in the car industry, they make a lot of money.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that was what drove me at the time. I wanted to make a lot of money as a young guy. I didn't really have a plan. And I was with a guy, started telling me how much money he was making, and that was really kind of pushed me over the edge.
It's motivating.
Yeah.
For me, it was going to that trade show and having a table. You know, I texted him a picture of it, like, right after I got set up. Like, this is great. Like, it was the first time I was out there promoting the podcast, being in the public eye, and having the right setup, having books on the table, and then being able to present to the entire audience for 6 or 7 minutes. You know, I'm comfortable in that spotlight, but getting the opportunity, you have to find that opportunity, and I found it, and it was a great opportunity. What about you? Best
For me,
business
it
decision?
continues to be betting on me. You know, when you're younger, you think, oh, I got to have this job, and you're not as smart as everybody else or whatnot. Now, you know, with lots of lashes across my back and 25 plus years of work experience, you realize I have the work ethic that's second to none. And getting a chance to do a podcast with friends, getting a chance to be involved with businesses I enjoy and I like, being part of chambers of commerce now. So doing my own thing and kind of taking control of my career is my best business decision. And if anything, I'm looking to double or triple down on that.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's awesome.
All right, why don't you take the first question for Bill?
All right, so first off, thank you very much for coming. I'm very excited. I mean, legitimately, as I say, it's rare that I have a guest that's literally like my brother. And when I say this, there's 35 years from when we started having Buon Gusto Strombolis,
Yeah,
right?
thanks for having me.
So Strombolis.
So, kind of interesting thing was, you know, with this podcast focused on sales, and I thought it'd be interesting if we talk about having kind of the inside scoop. You worked in a mall selling hats,
lids,
right? But you were a salesman,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
Not formally trained or anything like that. If you could just kind of take it through, like, how do we go from basically selling hats to being really one of the top, you know, and Range Rover general managers, if I have the title right, in the country?
Yeah.
So just talk me through that journey.
Yeah, I was coming out of high school, working in a sports store, selling, like you said, hats, T-shirts, sporting goods, privately owned place before lids, all that stuff even existed. And, you know, I was busting my butt doing that. Had a lot of young kids working for me at the time. And it was a grind, you know. I was got kids stealing from me, and if I wasn't there 24 hours a day, we were getting robbed, you know, the people that were working for us in the mall. So, you know, I started playing hockey with a couple guys in the mall that I worked in, and one day somebody started telling me they were selling cars, the kind of money they were making 6 figures, and I was like, this is nuts.
But it wasn't like you went to be a traditional, like when you walk into a car dealership, you were that guy
Yeah.
that would get it up. Is that what
Yep.
they call it?
Yeah, no, I was.
So so you're selling hats one day,
Yep.
right? And then next day you start at, which is the first place you started at?
Bill Kolb Ford.
Okay,
Yeah,
so you're
that was
selling Fords.
Yep, Fords in Rockland County, New York in the mid-'90s. You know, pretty progressive guy. It was, you know, he had the Bill Kolb way. He was, back in the day, they were still doing full-page ads in the New York Post. He was doing typical car salesman-y type stuff. You know, the Ford back in the day, the Expedition had an Eddie Bauer package.
Sure.
And he used to do the EB2000. It was an Eddie Bauer-like edition. So it was front page. He trademarked the Eddie Bauer logo. I'm sure he had copyright infringements. And we'd have people calling up all the time and say, hey, I want to see your Eddie Bauer. And we had a script we had to read. It was, oh, no, yeah, the Eddie Bauer-like edition, you know. And it was like, oh, I never said it was an Eddie Bauer. It's an Eddie Bauer-like edition.
Keyword like.
So it was.
So you were logging it, like, what were your, like, when you first started, what were your hours like?
Oh, forget it. You know, it was
Nights,
it was
weekends,
the B schedule.
holidays.
You got to
B
be
schedule.
there. That was it. You know, it was one-on-one. Just got to be there every day. But it was a grind. You know, if you were there, you had opportunities, and if you weren't, you didn't. And that was the way my sales was brought in.
So you start selling cars. How did you go? When did you realize, like, oh, I actually know what I'm doing? And how did you differentiate yourself from somebody else who would start, that was playing hockey with you, that basically came across with you? How did you kind of excel or have a path where somebody else maybe didn't?
For me, I wanted it more. You know, at the end of the day, I looked around in the room and I convinced myself I'm better than all these guys. And it was just a matter of outworking them. You know, like, I knew I had a better plan when I walked in every day, and I knew I was going to outwork them. So, you know, at the time, our goals were pretty defined for us. You had to sell X amount of cars, and you knew kind of if you fell into that bucket how much money you were going to make. So I always knew where I needed to be at the end of the month, and it was just all out to get there.
Felt good being at the top all the time, didn't it?
It did. It got me to a place where I was able to leverage one job after the next. I was always one of the better salespeople.
So you start getting recruited.
Yeah, start getting recruited. You find better opportunities. I left Ford to go to an opportunity with a bigger group selling Toyotas. And that was really kind of the first big step in my career. Get into a large group, the Prestige Group in Bergen County, New Jersey. It was the early 2000s. Car industry was blowing up back then. You had cars for clunkers that came in the mid 2000s. We have in the auto industry, there's these anomalies that just kind of blow things up. And cars for clunkers was one. COVID was another one.
Weren't they doing that car share period of time, or is
Yeah.
that, you don't even hear about that anymore?
Yeah, some dealers played around with that. That's the one thing about the auto industry is there's always like the greatest thing that's around the corner, and I've always been really good at trying to be ahead of that.
Or at least recognizing what's going to be good and what's not.
Right.
Don't follow the crowd.
Exactly.
All right, so you make it to Toyota. Okay, we go from Ford to Toyota, maybe a little bit more popular brand, whatever the case may be. But when you make that jump, you're still on the floor as...
Yeah, I was a selling salesperson. It was a high volume place. We were trying to take over the world. It was Toyota at the time they were growing, and their goal was to take over the world in the auto industry.
Now, is there a difference when you're selling Toyotas? Are you selling Toyotas? Are you selling Lexus? Or is it it's a separation?
Yeah, separation, just Toyotas. Like I said, high volume place. I eventually transitioned into the finance department, doing finance.
And so for the non-car people, what does that mean when you go from it being on the floor to you're the guy in the office that when you're dealing with the sales guy, they say, oh, let me go talk to
my finance guy.
Right.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, the rule of thumb, first and foremost, is to make sure you get funded, get your deal paid. That was my first priority. Obviously, on top of it, I needed to generate income, so I was selling insurance products. You're selling interest rates. You're selling everything under the sun. Extended warranties, tire and wheel packages.
So as a finance, so you really expanded like your product offering.
Correct.
As a sales, so you would go from just selling a car to now selling all these add-on services. Really, so when they say finance manager, is that fair to say it's almost like an advanced sales position?
Yeah, but it's also got a lot more compliance that's behind it too. A lot more than you would realize. Like especially over the years, the FTC, a lot of these three-letter agencies that jumped into our business and regulating, your margins on interest rates.
You didn't need to be certified?
We did. We had to get our insurance sales certifications. A lot of different state trainings that we had to take just for compliance purposes, but a lot of things with, especially with the FTC and red flags and things like that you get with consumers that we have to deal with. So it's a lot more complicated at the end of the day than just selling.
To me, right?
It's things that at the end of the day, if I screw up, I've got a $150,000 contract on the road with somebody driving a car and an asset that you can't find. It's not like a house that's secured on a street.
How long did it take? So it sounds like this level of sophistication. How long did it take you to go from being kind of, you're on the floor, now you're a finance manager. How long, and then you have to get all these certifications. How long is that process?
It wasn't that side of it wasn't really that hard. It was just kind of understanding the process flow. What really is the next step in a volume place like that is your efficiency. As a finance manager, you'd be at a dealership that has 4 or 5 finance managers that sells 30, 35 cars on a Saturday, and 20 to 25 of those people want to take it the same day. So it gets to be really...
So when you say efficiency, so is it like how quick you can turn the deal?
How quick you can get the customer approved in your office, present them a menu with product, try to reclose them if they say no, and then finish the paperwork and make sure that you're going to get funded by the bank, and then move on to the next customer when you could potentially see on a busy Saturday as a finance manager 15 to 20 people in a day trying to do all that.
So my question to you is, when you finance somebody, how long are they obligated to stay financed with you at your rate?
There's no prepayment penalty in New Jersey, so we're providing a service for them, making it more convenient, which some people don't have relationships like that with their bank, and they don't even know the steps to take to try to get a car loan. So it's really convenience for us. In New Jersey, there's no prepayment penalty, so you can pay off a loan whenever you want.
Are your rates usually cheaper than the banks on autos?
Usually, yeah. I mean, a lot of times on new cars, depending on the make and model and the availability, they'll have promotional rates. So usually those rates are going to be better than you can get off the street. And then on a used car, if it's not like a subvented rate from the manufacturer, there's, we're able to usually, because of our scale, the amount of loans that we're writing through Chase Bank or TD Bank or one of these other larger lenders, we can kind of leverage that relationship to get a better rate usually than you're able to get.
Are there any kickbacks? I'm going to say it. I mean, if you push more business towards Chase, does Chase reward you guys?
It's really the rewards are really more an approval. There'll be some rewards if there's other money tied to it sometimes.
Would it be more manufacturer incentives kicking back to the dealership, something like that?
Yeah, there's, depending on the manufacturer. Like in my instance, Land Rover doesn't have their own captive financing that they own. They underwrite it through Chase as a third party. So there isn't a lot of that relationship type stuff. It's really just a true business partnership.
So let's get, so we're at Toyota. And now how long were you in the finance position there for?
About 3 years, like 2.5 years. And I just got burned out. I really was killing myself at that Toyota store. It was, like I said, 15, 20 people. On a Saturday, you get out of there at 10 o'clock when you close at 6 because you're finishing
Right,
up
and you're
deals.
working Saturdays. Sundays is closed, I think, but you're
Sundays
just
is closed,
exhausted.
Holidays, we're working.
And were you making six figures at that point?
Oh, yeah. We were doing well back then. But it was a grind. It was a 65, 70-hour-a-week job. That I was a slave to the job. I was a young enough guy that it really didn't make that much of a difference.
Pre-kids and
pre-kids
stuff, yeah.
But then once the opportunity came up to move to Land Rover, first I took a little break from.
Kia was in there for a little bit, right?
Yep.
Right.
Yep. Yeah. I worked for Kia for a little period of time, but I left Toyota. Took a break for about 60 days. That's when I got a dog, and
so I got a dog. But I think one of the things that's interesting for the audience is what's the difference for you working at like a Toyota versus like a Kia? What do you see like as far as like, is it different type of salesmanship? Is it different type of customer?
No, I mean it's the same customer, same process. Like think about it. How many places do people go in and negotiate a sale nowadays? It's buying a car. So it's like every 3 or 4 years, everybody gets up their negotiation muscles. They look online, they read a book, they get a strategy. And what I loved about it was I could pick out the strategy from the guy across the desk. It's like I knew, like you'd walk in and this, like I said, the guy hasn't done it for 3 years or 4 years. He's looking at his notes. He's trying to remember, honey, I should hold the trade back and not tell him about a trade and negotiate the price first. And they all have their selling strategy. So what I really enjoyed was winning, like having a better strategy than them. And that was really what I would try to instill in my team, that they have a strategy. They only do this 3 or 4 times a year.
You're doing this 20 times a day. Yeah.
Correct. So like really, that was the angle that I really appreciated.
What's the deal? You go to these places, doesn't matter, Ford, Chevy, Toyota, you're talking to the guy, you want to negotiate, let me go talk to my manager. What the fuck? Come on, man. Why do they always got to go talk to the manager? Can't you make a decision on your own?
The guys that make decisions on their own are the guys that give away all the gross. That's just the reality of it. Because if somebody at the end of the day, you put them on a spot to make a decision, or if I gave you the inclination that I had the ability to make a decision, it's never going to end. There's always going to be more that I have to give.
There's going to be a process, right?
Yeah. So by taking that away, even as I'm the general manager, I run the place, they all come to me, I still excuse myself when I'm talking to a customer. And people ask me, what are you going to talk to somebody else? Don't you run the place? Well, I do, but there's a lot of variables in running this place. I need to have an understanding of the availability of the car that you're looking for, what's coming, what we've sold. So there's a lot of factors in deciding on what I have to do.
So this level of sophistication, when did the light click off where you're like, oh shit, I got a real career here, there's real money to be made, I'm different than my peers, and you start to see yourself moving up the ladder? When did that actually click in for you?
It's probably in finance. I started to see the money, the flow, and the volume. Instead of looking at it in a silo and just seeing my individual deals as a finance manager, I got everybody's deals coming to me and starting to see how each person conducts themselves and understanding my process versus theirs.
But you weren't in finance, you're not running the entire dealership yet?
No.
Got it.
Yeah, no. When I left Toyota and went to Land Rover. I was doing finance there, but pretty quickly I realized how much money was the difference from a Range Rover to a Toyota, and the difference from a product that people want versus a product that they're going to decide on because it makes the most sense. You know, I have a product now at Land Rover that people dream about owning it. You know, it's like they look at it like a status symbol. So
Do you make more money because the product is so much higher?
you can, you know, when there's demand for it. You know, we're coming out of a period with the Range Rover where they just redesigned the product in 2023.
The demand for Range Rovers, I think, has been through the roof for several years now. Right?
Unbelievable, yeah. I mean, it's always been strong, and there's always been a limited amount of them available.
Why?
It's an English company because the cars are all imported in, and they have to come depending on where things are in the world. Like, there was incredible demand in China, so where they make more money in China, the manufacturer would shift more of the inventory to that part of the world where they're making more money. So it just depends on what's going on in everybody's economy. And you know, for a long period of time, China was leading the way with product, and especially luxury cars. Everything was
Are they
getting
not
pushed.
now?
You know, I feel like
Who's caught up?
really the U.S. right now has been ringing the bell. I mean, you know, our franchise Land Rover in last year was 132 million in top sales. In 2021, right after COVID, it was 152 million. So I mean, really, that now we're in a place now where we're trying to chase those Range Rover days in 2021, where everybody was getting.
You know,
Crazy numbers.
that's the funny part about business. Some people changed during COVID, and some people were able to capitalize on COVID. Some people were hurt by COVID. To me, you know, we're 5 years out already. Shut the fuck up with COVID. I'm done with COVID excuses and stories. I had COVID money. It raised my number. Next year, there's no COVID. I still got COVID numbers to hit because that's the way it works in sales. Just
Sure.
What you did last year, we're going to tack on 10 or 15% for this year. You got to find a way. I never went back down.
Yep.
I've been on the rise for 14 straight years. No excuses. That's my, you know,
Right.
my mind. There's no excuses for a down year. Not if you work hard.
Yeah, I mean, that's the challenge now. Is this, you know,
Your
when you have
bar
people,
was so high,
correct?
right?
When
Yeah.
you have, but also when you have people working underneath you now, as running the dealership and having the salespeople that were making that
So
COVID
yeah,
money.
let's close the circle. So all right, so you make it to Land Rover.
Yeah.
In the auto industry, is that kind of like a status of like you sort of made it, like you're at a premier luxury brand, high ticket item?
Yeah.
And when do you go to there, and when do you actually start now running the whole dealership?
Yeah, I went there in 2020. No, I went there in 2004. Sorry, excuse
Yeah,
me.
long time. Yeah.
2004. And when the new Range Rover came out, they came out with the first supercharged Range Rover. That was really when things really started to blow up, and that became from a niche brand to a mainstream product that just had incredible demand. Range Rover always had it, but they came out with the supercharged.
So with incredible demand, that negotiation technique probably went out the window.
It did, yeah.
Right.
But the thing is,
Take it or leave it.
I think you could go above sticker, right? Or people were
I
paying.
mean, you could. The problem with a lot of philosophical people, some people don't believe in charging over sticker, some people do, but the problem with it is the demand was so big. It was 30, 40, 50,000 over sticker, and you could sell a Range Rover in China for twice what you could sell it in the U.S. So you had people off the street that were buying the product and
so
shipping it to China.
Right,
and
they had some kind of laws on that, right?
$100,000.
Where you had to basically log in whatever was sold to avoid any
We
of
did,
the.
yeah. They'll take away our allocation if we have too many cars that end up getting sold, that end up getting exported out of the country.
Did you know?
I don't know.
So literally,
It's crazy.
so somebody off the street could come in, buy a Range Rover with 20 grand over sticker,
Yep.
ship it to China, double the price,
Yep.
and so they put controls in place. Specifically, you would be penalized if you were selling to people like that.
Yep. But
How would they know you shipped it, though?
well, a lot of times
Bill of lading?
they had a list of customers that had warranty claims in China
Okay.
on cars that were purchased
Okay.
in the U.S.
Okay.
So I see. Yeah.
They had a list
No
of customers.
backsies.
They knew that they had
Right.
warranty
It's all in a
claims in
database,
China, and then Chase had open loans in the U.S. on that same car. So they knew they
Oh.
had straw purchases.
So there's
buyers
no
that-
collateral. It's double collateralized.
Correct. So they had big issues, the banks, for years there of cars that were exposed. People that were convinced to be a straw purchase for a
Right.
car that got shipped.
Yeah. Okay. So now we're running the whole dealership at Range Rover.
Yeah.
What's that like? So you've grown up in the industry, you're kicking ass, you did everything, and now you've got all these people under you. What's that like, going from a transition of being the guy who had to generate to now basically overseeing a whole team of people?
And motivate them to generate.
Well, that's the thing, is back then it was different because we were, a top 20 dealer in the country back then in the early 2000s. And it was right at the tip of our fingers to get to number one. So like that culture then was just a young team driven on being the best. And the bigger dealers were right in our neighborhood. We had Glen Cove out here in Long Island, Manhattan, us, and it was a battle. I mean, we just were hammering it out. And ultimately, in 2007, we became the number one Land Rover dealer in the country.
Are you still?
Volume-wise. That was in Paramus, New Jersey, and I left there in 2014.
Ooh, when they sold the business?
They sold the business to a big corporation, Penske Automotive, and now I'm running Paul Miller Group in Parsippany, New Jersey.
Is it a Land Rover?
Still a Land Rover dealer, yeah.
Now he has a few different dealerships.
Yeah, there's 10 rooftops, 12 franchises. I also had a little involvement.
When you say rooftop?
Yeah, so there's
what is that? What is
like
that?
Land Rover had Jaguar in the same building. Bentley has Rolls Royce in the same building.
Right. So you also have, besides Land Rover, you also have.
I had Jaguar, but we gave Jaguar back.
Oh, you didn't like the new woke ad? You didn't think that was going to really light the market up?
We gave it back before they.
It's a niche product.
They got a little woke.
It's a niche
yeah.
product. It's a no product now.
Yeah, no,
I was trying to be polite.
We're still servicing Jag for a few more years. They decided to go fully electric, and
Really?
the planning volume for us in sales was cut to like 80%. So they gave us a choice if we wanted to give it back. They gave us some extra Land Rover opportunities, so it made a little more sense.
And then you also have Rolls?
Bentley Rolls Royce were previously in my responsibility, but no longer.
Okay.
So.
I mean, what if we sold 1 or 2 Rolls a month? That'd be a good month.
Yeah, that was it's a unique brand because Rolls is, like you said, it's a couple a month if you're lucky. Bentley, you want to maybe 8 to 10 on a good month. But you got a lot of snowbirds, a lot of our customers up here going.
What type of salesman is selling a Rolls versus selling a Range Rover? Is it the same guy or no? Or same girl?
It's a similar guy.
Okay.
But really, you got to really have your book of business dialed in with Rolls-Royce and Bentley for that very reason, because those customers could be anywhere. They're not like going to
Coming in on a Saturday afternoon.
Right, going to the neighborhood Rolls-Royce dealer.
No.
You have to be engaging with them and making them.
You have to bring them in.
Right.
So how many sales folks do you have under you right now?
In the facility, there's about 100 employees between sales and service. Sales right now, there's 12 salespeople, some support staff along the way.
And have they been there a while, or you cycle through them, or?
In sales, it's a third, a third, a third. You got a third of your guys that usually are the hammers,
right.
Top producers.
a third in the middle that you're always trying to. Sometimes they'll fall into the top third, or sometimes they'll fall in the bottom third, and then you got a third that are the guys that are always rotating in and out. It's
jumping from dealership to dealership.
Yeah, it's the grass is greener crew.
So how do you like, as somebody who was like a die-hard go-getter, and then you see kind of like a halfie.
Right.
How do you, like, mentally, how do you deal with that?
You have to get them to understand that these people came in the door, and the only thing that they want is the car that they're going to tell you about. It's unlike any other brand. It's very rare that somebody walks into a Land Rover showroom and they're telling you, I'm comparing this between
This and a Corvette.
Good point. That's a good point. Yeah.
or even a Cadillac Escalade. Because at the end of the day, my car's more expensive 9 times out of 10. And there really isn't, from a status symbol, and that's why most people are coming into that showroom, is the perception that it's the pinnacle of luxury.
Yeah.
And there aren't a lot of cars that really compare to that. You'll talk to a BMW guy.
You took the word out of my mouth.
Whoever, they all think that it's the same, but at the end of the day, you put a Range Rover next to a BMW X5 or an X7.
What differentiates, like, one of your top guys versus one of your rotators? What differentiates that guy?
It's just the drive, really. Like the top guys, especially in the luxury scene, like everybody will tell you, like Land Rover has a bad rap for reliability. All the luxury cars have a bad rap for reliability. I mean, they all, think about all the technology that's in these cars right now compared to your laptop and your cell phone. People get into a car, they hit the button, they turn the radio on, they put the car in reverse, the backup camera's coming on, they're hitting the button to open up the moonroof, and all these things are happening at the same time. you don't think something's going to freeze up
We're
and
getting
lock
pitched
up?
right now. Exactly. He's getting pitched right now. Yeah.
You know, I tell people all the time when they call me that they have a problem with their car. It's like, well, what did you do when you got in the car? It's like, well, I did this. Well, do me a favor. Hit the button and just sit there for 30 seconds. Let the car think about what it wants to do. Let it decide that it wants to drive today, and then do it.
Let me ask you this. You're a leader. You're a GM. Mm-hmm. What do you do to put your bottom third in a better position to be better salespeople?
It's the biggest challenge that's out there. You know, I mean, I try to give them the best support that they have to be successful, but at the end of the day, it's just the one fundamental that they have to get it. They just have to want it, you know, because in this industry, people are walking in the door. It's just, you have to fake it till you make it. If you're having a bad day, people come in, like I said, this is every 3 or 4 years they're coming in to buy a car. This is an exciting moment.
They don't want to be dragged down by you.
But is it that, like, it's hard work, drive? Is it any different from what you see?
No,
you know,
it's not.
Yeah.
And to me, success is, in my world, it's based on how you're led. You know the guys that you don't have to drag along, and you know the guys that you need to prop up a little bit more than the others. But every year, my bosses come to me. What new tools do you need this year? And I always tell them, bring in a speaker.
Right.
Bring in someone to motivate us, or just rally the troops, get people excited about their job. Find little things, Pizza Friday, or just little things that make people want to go the extra mile for you.
Right.
You know, that's what I always find. So I'm for hire. If you want me to bring me into your group for one afternoon, I'll bring the pizza and we'll do an hour of motivational sales techniques. I mean, that's what I see as a kid. And I've said this to my bosses. The people who are not successful on my team, they don't know that they're not successful.
Right.
They just look at numbers. They think they're doing okay. How would you feel if you were at the bottom every week, every month, every year?
Yeah.
How would you feel if you're at the top?
When they see, right, you guys have metrics and you track all that, because that's my world. We always track and
There's
see
a chart right there.
There it is.
There's the chart.
I try to break it down real simple for guys when they're starting and they're struggling. It's like a 2 out of 10 theory. You know, 2 out of 10 people that you talk to, as long as you do a good job, do a good meet and greet needs assessment, make them feel comfortable, 2 out of 10 people are going to lay down for whatever you tell them. They're going to, and I live for those people. I don't want to ever lose those people. If I miss that opportunity when one of those people are a 2 out of 10, I've lost it. The other 2 out of 10 people, it doesn't matter what you do, they're going to think you're a jerk no matter what. Yeah. I don't care about those people. I don't even think about them. Right. I just move on. And then the 6 people in the middle that you got to grind. You know,
do they still have to bring you in as the hammer sometimes to close, or are you past that at this point?
Sometimes. I mean, if I'm you know,
like
in
where
the
they bring in,
area,
here's the general manager, and they do that.
I got the general manager when I bought my Suburban last year, and the guy came in, and it was they wanted 32,000, and I said, dude, I'll give you 25. I'll walk out the door a happy guy right now. And he's like, well, I can't. I said, no. I'm going to get up. I'm going to walk away, and I'm not coming back. I assure you.
Right.
How about 25.5? Fair. Let's go.
Right.
Right.
But I held.
And I guess the Range Rover situation is it's 150 grand, and it's 150 grand.
Right. A lot of times.
Yeah, whatever the case may be. But
we're in a little bit of a lull right now. Not a lull. It's the first time since 2019 we've had availability of product. So I mean, it's the first time, really.
That's good and bad.
It is. So like since really you had 5 years of there was nothing there.
Right, and that just drives pricing itself. Yeah.
Correct.
And demand.
Now, but it's very cyclical with the brand. Like I know that the things are going to level out and inventory is going to tighten up. So it's trying to get people to realize, like, guys, status quo, keep moving, follow the process, follow the program. You don't have to change because you think that we're in a different period of time, scarcity or whatever. It's just stay consistent.
We got 2 final questions.
Yeah, let's do it.
You want to do? All right. So these last 2 questions are pretty simple. Where are you in 5 years? Are you still with Paul Miller? Are you still a general manager? Where are you in 5 years?
I'm hoping I know this answer, but please.
Or are you working for Mark somewhere?
No.
5 years. My kids will be out of school in 5 years or graduating in 5 years. So 5 years I plan on being somewhere relaxing.
Okay.
In a perfect world. That could be in a van, in a park.
That could be in Vegas together
It
somewhere.
could be in Vegas.
You never know. Yeah.
The last question, I love this one. If you could have dinner with anyone in the history of the world, anyone, alive or dead, Who would it be?
Sid Fernandez.
Sid Fernandez, the Hawaiian left-handed pitcher for the New York Mets.
For some reason, the guy loved Sid Fernandez.
Best left-handed curveball you'll ever see.
And then who's the next one then? I know who his other favorite Met of all time.
Kevin McReynolds.
There it is.
Kevin McReynolds. My
You got to
God.
understand, we went to Met games. That's at Shea
man.
Stadium when we just got our license. And we'd stand outside for hours before we'd take pictures of when Willie Randolph was the manager. And
You forget, Kevin McReynolds finished third in the MVP voting.
there it is. Yeah.
There you go. All right, this is your opportunity to look at the camera. Tell us how we could find you, find your organization.
Well, I'm currently the general manager of Land Rover Parsippany. We're in Parsippany, New Jersey. I also oversee our e-commerce division. It's fastlane.paulmiller.com. So that oversees the entire used car division for the group. It's about 500, 600 cars available there. Honestly, there's a lot of cars there. Happy to help you with anything I could do.
Mark, how can we reach you?
Mark Simpson from the Integritas Group. We handle all outsourced loss prevention. We handle pharmacies, retail, and convenience. If you got a problem, we hopefully have a solution to help you drive your bottom line results.
Phone number?
917-414-4027. That is my cell direct. And unfortunately, there is no off days in this world.
Very true. And I'm Eddie Podge. You could reach me at eadelman@pods.com or call me 631-334-8587. As you heard me pitching Bill to come in and do some training with his sales reps. I don't really consider it training. I consider it coaching, motivating people, exciting people. I had two 20-year-olds in my house, males, friends of my daughters from New Jersey who are watching my podcast, and we sat down to break bread, and they literally were picking my brain about the podcast, about
awesome.
how to move forward with their dreams, and I was really happy to engage with them. And my daughter came to me afterwards and was like, my friends love you, man. They think you're awesome. So I was pretty, that I'm doing something that's valuable here.
That's great.
So, it's been a pleasure. We'll be back with episode number 26 next week. Have yourself a great day, everybody.
Thank you.